Hello and welcome to your Bitcoin.Live update. On today's update, I show you support and resistance levels for the majors as well as Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then go through where we should let this market cycle unfold and then some tips and tricks that I've learned throughout my past few market cycles. So as we look at BTC move down from its peak to trough as of today, a 25% move, I think a move potentially at the low happened at 42,000. That would give us the full 30% retracement from peak to the 42 level, as well as shake out a ton of new entrants to this market, which is really what's necessary during such a move to the upside. And when we have an 8,000, 9,000 point move to the downside, it stirs away people that are looking for the quick buck and also allows for the market to settle. So what we want to look for on this chart is we want to look for volume shrinking to the downside, and that hasn't happened yet. So we could have another few days of this. And during 2017 we had 5 major corrections. They ran anywhere from 3 days, 5 weeks. So let's be patient with this and ask ourselves, have the fundamentals of Bitcoin changed? And they haven't. So all this is a pullback and an uptrend huge move from 10,000 to now 58,000, and then coming back 25%, 30%. Yes, it stings in the short term, and that's human psychology, to have the pain be far worse than the gain, and greed to rear its ugly head as this unfolds. Let's just be patient with this and understand that even on the algo, we're still long. You've got an oscillator below the trend, which is still positive, and you've got that rising trend above 8, which tells me that this bull market is not over yet. 4 tells me I'm still in super trend. So for that, I'd like to just say we've got to be patient and let this unwind until volume starts to shrink to the downside. Now, ETH's experiencing even deeper headwind due to the competition that it's facing through DOT, BNB, host of different alts like ADA. So that's one thing to take note. And gas fees are just tremendously high, and it's just turning off a ton of people. And of course, ETH's going to be a lot more volatile. It formed over the past few weeks weaker than BTC, and we're going to reflect that in the ETH Btc chart. Thing to look for is which coins dropped the least during the Bitcoin dump, and then which coins are bouncing the most after the dump. And so I've sorted today's watch list here by percentages. But what I say about support and resistance, price levels to watch for, and looking at strength and weakness is still going to remain true no matter what market we're talking about. And ETH just making this huge move to the downside is due to that. And it's coming in to test where there's a lot of price action here. So holding its support at 1352 is going to be the key. And that's where the low for today happened, and staying above that is what ETH bulls want to see happen. So you've got a rising 200, which is really important here on the 8 hour. So for me, just like I said, don't let the 1 day, 2 day price action change your core views and beliefs in the system. Now looking at SOL, this has just had a really nice move after coming down and testing through its 50 period moving average. This could be considered an accumulation range. It didn't last long, and the way you see that is through the wicks. It didn't close below that, signifying weakness. And this chart now has taken out that 21,000 Satoshi level and is making new highs. It's got a few different updates. There was a new token added to the FTT trading platform called RAY, and that's part of the Solana platform. So just take that note with this. Volume to the upside, you've got upward sloping 20, 50, 100, and 200, and its support currently lies at 13,930. So it's a host of a way above its support at this point, and this big bar up is powerful. I'm not sure I would chase this at this point using BTC, but if this comes back and retests the 21,000 to 22,000 level, that could be something we look at. Now looking at Monero to the downside, try to have that breakout, go long on the smart money algo. It failed to do so. The downward sloping 200 is very powerful in trading, whether it's equities, altcoins, Bitcoin. So just keep that in mind. And as Monero fails here, it really needs to hold that support of 3,423. So it's still a ways away. It's getting a little bit of buyback here. But you've got to wait. This has to now move sideways. You've got to let these unfold and the confluence of these moving averages before you would long this. Looking at Dogecoin, and as Doge now in this accumulation range, trying to hold its 100 period moving average, and you've got the 200 still kind of like upward sloping. That's powerful. But you don't have a lot of volume here, so this could honestly, once this market unfolds, make a move from this 90 Satoshi 95 level back to 130. So keep your eyes on this. With the upward slopes powerful, decrease in volume on the sideways moving to the downside. Now looking at Cardano, this has just made such a move since going long, up about 100% versus BTC, moves to the upside. And as you see these three candles, they failed to close higher on this final move to resistance of 2145. And then you've got just a few stair steps down, big bars up, down. So this is honestly a very powerful chart and looking really well. And should you get it here in the 1800 sat range, this could continue to make a move to the upside. It's been long on the algo here since the beginning of January, and that long came through around 750 sats, so it was almost a 200% gain, about a 200% gain on that. So coming back down and getting to your 50 period moving average would be something I'd look for if you're looking at a long. Now the ETH BTC chart on Smart Money Algo, it's going short. It's considered short. That's why I sent out that alert the other day at 36,000, 35,000 sats. We're now down another 15% since that alert, and it's trading below its 200 period moving average. This is coming into, gosh, it could really go below 30,000 sats, which is really what I wanted for ETH BTC to hold for the people that are longing this. So this 28,000 Satoshi range could be where this stops. But once again, you're going to have a host of different outcomes. In EIP, the improvement proposal for ETH 2.0 and gas fees is still months away. So this could be a laggard here in the short term. Now looking at the Ltc Btc chart, this chart just didn't work out. We had that breakout to the upside. I was watching on the short-term time frame a bullish flag pattern unfold. That failed. And that's why you got to walk away when the chart is wrong. We're down now from that stop out from 42 to 36. That's another 15%, 20% savings in Satoshis. So that's one thing to note here. And now the LTC chart needs to hold this 3,472 Satoshi range. And if it doesn't, it's going to be more downside for this. And look, it's trading below it's 5,200 price below it. You're in the a phase where this has a lot of work cut out for it, and it's just been such a laggard. Now moving on to DOT, this is a ton of positive news from investment banks and trying to accumulate it in volume to the upside. This comes down, it gets bought back off its 50 period moving average, and this just looks to have continued upside, and it's kind of one of those trades that's almost becoming overcrowded, so I'm not sure I want to recommend it. It's made such a move from the long here, the second week of January at 28,000 sats. You've got over 140% move to the upside here on this. But coming down, and when it retests and bounces off these moving averages, are good accumulation ranges and points of value. Now looking at Link to the downside, showing you some short signals. The 50 would have to go through the 200 here, so that's why you've got this bounce happening. So 44,000 Satoshis is where the support is currently, and that's where the breakout happened as well. So look, it came down there today, got bought back. This is a big candle. I'm not sure I'm going to see this close up here at 53, 54, 55,000, but nothing would surprise me here in crypto. Now looking at Atom, we still have a portion of this trade left, and I like it because the daily chart is telling me this is still long, and the Cosmos ecosystem is continually growing. So I like this coin for a small percentage of the trading account, and it's one that I value here. I'll be holding the rest of my position here on the daily chart and even watch it for weakness on the 480, but it's still long on the 480. You've got the trend above 4 and the oscillator here above 2, so that's powerful. One thing to take note is it's bouncing off its 100 period moving average. Where this breakout happened is it closed above that here. So that's one thing I like about this chart. Now moving on to TRX. TRX displaying weakness, short, long, short setup. So this is more towards the downside. Holding support of 82 sats is really important, but that downward sloping 200, as we looked at on XMR, is what this is experiencing as well. So this one you'd have to have, you'd have to have this flatten out before a long potential could come into play. First time breakout failure, so this is a ways away. Now looking at AAVE coming down, you've got the downward sloping 50 now. This had made such a move since going to the upside. And let's look at here as on the chart reset. So you've got a long happening here. That second week of January, a lot of alts really unfolded and moved from 3,600 to 1,300. So, you had a humongous move. And then coming back down for, say, a 50% retracement, bouncing off its 200 period moving average. So closing above 6,400 sats is important for this to maintain its bullish structure. Now looking at XRP, XRP is displaying signs that we like to see in coins, where you've got the confluence of the moving average, but price, look, it's failing to close above it, so you can't long this yet. Yes, the buyback happened on its support of 805, but for me, I need to have this flatten out a little bit more and price close above, say, 1,045, 1,085 Satoshis, as this probably comes down a little bit more, those moving averages. Now, Neo BTC, Neo has the 3.0 ecosystem that's coming out. That long comes in, and then it fails. You've got a ton of volume to the upside, making new resistance at 964 sats. This is one of the stronger coins, in my opinion, as you've got an upward sloping 50, a flattened out 200, volume to the upside. BNB also one of those coins that's competing with ETH and outperforming ETH. You can see that on the BNB to ETH chart. So this pattern right here is really nice. You've got the big move up on volume. You've got the sideways move down, coming to retest that. So this should be also a better performer here, once the market stabilizes and things unfold. Now looking at EOS, just that breakout happened, so that's why on my alert where I had that one winner, two losers, took the profit on this one. So this one, you've got that downward sloping 200, just too much to overcome. You see the long failure here happens. It doesn't even really initiate a full long on the 8 hour. Comes through, and now it really needs to hold that support of 702 sats, and it's just really important to hold that. And it made a new local low for the year, so you cannot be buying stuff like that when you see that. So Bcash trying to display strength the other day, 2 days ago, almost giving me what I look for in price action, but you want to have that 50 above the 200 and then price close above it, and it failed, and then you've got this volume to the downside. So that first time breakout failure, you've got a long short in play. This needs to hold this 90,000 level. And it's got like a new local low for the year, so nothing you could long as well. The same thought process on EOS. This chart's almost the same, but even weaker. So with Tezos, it's not even in the majors anymore, top 25. So, but it's just kind of out of habit looking at this chart, and it's got a decent fan base ecosystem. But coming down here to test that 600 and change Satoshi level, the breakout failure, short in play. Price below it, downward sloping 200. Those are just some of the facts I'm seeing here with this chart. XLM, this is a stronger looking chart. Let's reset it so we can see what's going on. You've got the move to the upside, creating resistance at 1,270 sats, and then just the entire market, coming back down after making a move off the lows. So the lows here with 350, 360 sats to 1,200, so a 4x, 3.5x move to the upside. Coming back for its 50% retracement to where the breakout happened initially. This one, once again, it's got to close above 685 sats. It's above that by a ways right now, but this is a big candle. I like to just let this market unfold before I think about longing alts or making any type of decisions. Now, Uniswap's done really well. The long came through. We started talking about accumulation here. This is one where we're out of this position, took many profits. However, now for current holders, what you like to see here currently is this accumulation range between the 50 and the 200, upward sloping 200, and price making, the big bars up, the staircase down. You've got some buyback happening on this move down here today. One of the things to take note is just that the problems ETH is having in gas fees. Some of the Uniswap transactions I'm seeing are $50 a pop, even higher. So for that reason, this could just be something to take note of. It's failing to make new highs in here, comes into the resistance zone and sells off. So maybe we let this unfold to where, say, hey, does it close above the 50 period moving average? Does that 20 continue through to the upside? These markets, this rest of this week, are a good way to study. You don't have to use actual money in dollars every single time, or Bitcoin. It's one of those things that let's watch. Now we've got a huge bearish candle here on XEM, and this is one that displayed a trend change. You've got the long, short, long, ton of these setups going long, and there probably was profit taking into BTC. This is a fear candle. But for me, I'm not willing to buy it. When you've got one candle like this eating up the entire move, this is going to now have to move sideways for a period of time, stay above 1,000 sats, stay above its 20 period at 941. So this is a watch. Let this 200 flatten out more. There's just too much volume to the downside to long this. Now let's look at a few different member requests, and these came in here over the past few days. Looking at waves giving a short signal, and look, waves trying to break out, but it doesn't, because look, you've got the downward slope in 200. The confluence of the moving averages were nice. This is just a failed breakout attempt, but the downward sloping 200 on this, where the confluence happens, even right here, let's call it, on the 19th of February, just wouldn't be a place where you could long. And the algo wasn't displaying a long, it was displaying an indecision, which is the gray area. So now you're short. So the close below 1874, we're currently at 1822, tells you that this is short. Needs to hold that support of 1700 sats, move sideways. Price will have to climb back up before I'd long. So I'd like to be a confirmation buyer on something like this. BTT. This one here is just, this is just not a coin I'd be wanting to long or trade. Too much risk involved with something like this, trading at 3 sats, delisted from tons of different platforms. We're looking at here on the Bitfinex time frame, failing on this move to the upside. You can see this with the wicks. Look at that big bearish candle, eat it up. This is just a hard one to trade. So for me, something I'm staying away from at 3 sats, just not willing to look at it. Now looking at idle ETH chart, and what you see here is you've got that move to the upside, built that channel, it broke down from the channel, and you've got the downward sloping 200 period moving average. So this needs to hold this 0065 level, and this is an accumulation rate, so this isn't the worst looking chart. You've got this price action in here, but I think holding this level would be long, and the algo shows you that, hey, it still has some long strength in it. It's currently at an indecision mode as of the past 16 hours, and that's just what I should keep your eyes on. Now this one is a top 500 coin, so it's going to be a lot of volatility. It's going to be one, if you pick it right, you got to take profits. I mean, it moves, it reminds me of BTT, BitTorrent. So it moves up to 9 sats, come back to 6. That's almost a 50% move from the high to the low, to the current price action. One thing you've got here, you've got the breakout. Looking at it here, you've got the accumulation happening here, move to the upside on volume. It's just a hard coin to trade at times when it's a rank 500 on coin market cap. One sat move is big on something like this. So for me, just echo the same thing I feel about BitTorrent. Now Phantom had this accumulation range here where you had the upward sloping 50 coming and testing. It's 20 and 50 and continuing to do that. One thing to take note is this candle here moving to the downside. This looks like it's going to come back to the 500 and low 600 Satoshi level. The positive here, you've got volume to the upside, and you've got an upward slope in 20, 50, 100, and 200, so everything's in alignment. I mean, we might not even get back down there. So anything kind of where today's support happened at 675 sats, in this range, 650 sats could be a spot you look for a longing action. Now Qtum, had that first breakout here happen the second week of February, where the moving averages come into play. So it goes from 1,000 sats to 2,000 sats, 100% move. Now you've got the complete round trip experience. It tried to make that bounce on its 50 period after that retracement, and it fails. This is just one that you've got to now let it unfold. See where this candle closes. Should it close below the low at 932, it's 100% stay away from me at this point. So guys, there's a lot of price action going on with this market. Look at the notes that I put here in the comments section. Feel free to make any comments as well. It's just there's a lot of indecision happening. We've got the pullbacks, and this market really is still healthy if you look at it from the daily and weekly and monthly time frames. So zoom out on the macro point of view for long-term holdings that you're holding. I've held through 80% drawdowns a few different times in my crypto career, and yeah, it's no fun, but the greater picture of inflation, money printing, and things like that are why we moved to this space. And the values of Bitcoin and the proposition it offers is one, just to me, is too powerful to walk away from. And the move to the downside here is a healthy correction, and let's just see where this market unfolds. Any questions or comments, feel free to shoot me an email, altcointrades1@gmail.com, and I'll talk to you guys in a few days.